everybody, and welcome back. We're kind of co-hosting this, aren't we, Paula?
Yes,
So
we are co-hosting today.
if you're watching this from my channel, then I will be placing Paula's links down in the description box below. But man,
And
oh man,
vice versa.
yeah, before we get into it, Paula, I just want to let our students know. First of all, our students. It's early, you guys. It's early in the morning in Atlanta, Georgia. It's late in the evening in Australia. But we have had, I'm just loving our platform, the Esoteric Academy. We are having so much fun. At least I know we are. I hope our
Mhm.
students are having fun
Yes,
with us.
hopefully.
And I wanted to go ahead and just announce it because I know we just loaded this up and I know we sent an email out to all of our students, but we have, because this was highly requested, I have put together three Ashtanga videos, the Sun Salutations and the Standing Series from Primary, which is a great starting point. And then I put up a quarter primary series and a quarter primary series with closing. I know Alicia Gee just posted a TikTok. Thank you, girl, because she just did those. And so I wanted to let everybody know that that is now up on the Esoteric Academy. We are going to be doing a live foundations class Saturday, this Saturday. What is the date this Saturday?
Oh,
The
fourth,
15th?
15th. Yeah.
At 8 a.m. Eastern time, my time, which is like
Mhm.
8 p.m. for Paula.
Yeah.
So wherever you fall in that, we're going to be doing a shoulders and hips class at 8 a.m. on Saturday for about an hour, hour-ish. And then Sunday at 4 p.m. my time, we're going to do a pop-up Ashtanga class. So if you guys are not on the Esoteric Academy and you really want to try it, just so you guys know, if you sign up, you get 7 days of a free trial. So if that's something you're interested in, you do get 7 days of a free trial. And Paula, before we get into the topic at hand, you created a whole page on the website because we know that there are, and I have to be careful how I say this because we are on YT, that we know we're having some problems with RUMBLE. I'm going to spell it because algorithms. And some people, it's just not loading anymore for people. I don't know if it's because it's a Canadian-based company and there's issues going on right now. I
Right.
don't know why that is. But what Paula and I have done, or what Paula has done, is created, there's a free page on the Esoteric Academy.
Mhm.
And so controversial videos that I cannot post on YT, you now have two places. And for Paula as well, she's got her videos up there too. You now have two places that you can go to link over to watch these controversial videos. You can either try RUMBLE, it'll
Mhm.
be up there, but you can also link over to the Esoteric Academy. She has a playlist for my videos and for her videos. This is also great for our French
Yes, I was just about to
viewers.
say it's perfect for them because if they don't have access to it, then they've always got access to our website. So
Yes, this is our
perfect for
platform.
them.
So nobody owns us. No one owns us. It's just Paula and me doing everything.
Yeah, pretty
So
much.
it's just the two of us. And so hopefully that will help again. So with the Esoteric Academy, just to clarify, because then we're gonna get some weird comments. There is a paid portion, that's all the spiritual stuff, the exercises, the actual school portion. But then we also have a free section that Paula has created so that we have a
Yeah.
place
Do
to,
you want to show people the page?
yeah. Do you want to pull it up on your, because my computer
I
gets a little slow sometimes.
Yep, so just here on the home page, and like obviously we've got our courses and our memberships there, and then we've got different amazing healers and teachers that we recommend. And then it's just under recommended, we've got Esoteric Atlanta channel, and then my guided meditations, and then some other products that we recommend. Also, if you just scroll down on the home page, um, it's got it right here, so you can just click on watch now and it will just take you straight to the channel, just like the page all for Brice. And we've just uploaded these ones so far. And as we get more, I've got plenty of space ready for more more videos to be uploaded. And then also for anybody that's just really just wanting to focus just on meditations, these are my free ones from my YouTube channel. But when you're trying to meditate, the last thing you want is to be interrupted with an ad. So
Yeah.
for anybody that wants to watch them, I literally just worked on this today. So this is, yeah, I just put this up because I just thought that might be handy for people. So these are all, I mean, obviously they're all the ones I do offer, other ones that are part of the paid membership, but these are just my free ones. So anybody can access them anytime they want. So yeah, so that's all available on our awesome website that
Yeah,
anybody
so
can.
guys, any other controversial videos that I do that Paula does, we're just gonna not only load them up to the backup platform just to have them there, but also onto our platform too, so
Yes,
that you can go and watch them there as well.
it's
And
we had a lady called Rory who emailed in saying it's a backup channel for the backup.
they can't take us down.
Nope.
We'll find a way.
We are ultra prepared.
We're way too smart for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we're happy to do that for you guys because this is, especially with the more potent platform, the more potent videos that just absolutely just you guys know why they can't go on YT. Like there's just no way we can put some of the stuff up on YT. And I will say I want to just one thing with the ads because people have been asking. So I've said this before, Paula, being on YouTube is like playing Monopoly with a 4-year-old. They're always changing the rules so they win.
Mhm.
You parents understand. And so back before 2020, or right when I got on YouTube, it was very simple with the ads. Like you as the content creator, you could select two options, either let YouTube place them or you place them. And I always let myself place them because if you let YouTube place them, it'll be like every 5 minutes. So I always would place them. Now in 2025, that's not the case. You can try to place them, but YouTube will always sneak in extra ones.
Oh, right.
So we don't really have that control anymore. Many channels that aren't
That's so
monetized also have
annoying.
ads
Yeah,
that YouTube.
I'm not monetized yet because I'm so new to YouTube. But yeah, that's really annoying that you can't do that.
Yeah. They have total control. So when you guys complain about the ads, that is out of my control. That is out of any content creator's control at the moment. Think about RUMBLE. I just said the name. I'll have to edit that out because we know that the AI is listening. The RUMBLE. When you first sign up for RUMBLE, you can monetize right away. And what used to, which is great, right? You
Yeah.
don't have to meet a certain, and what
Oh,
it
you
used to,
do. Oh, well, now you do. You've got to
oh,
have
they changed it now?
yeah, you've got to have 100. So I've only got like
Oh.
13, 10 or 13 or something subscribers.
So,
So I've got to
so
have
subscribe to her
100.
backup.
Yeah. Yeah. If
At least
everybody
it's
could just
100.
subscribe to me, that would be wonderful.
That would be great.
Yeah, you're going to have 100 now to actually earn
Get
money.
them.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I first got on the backup, the RUMBLE, you could just monetize right away, which I thought was great because it's equal opportunity. And they would
Mhm.
only put like one ad at the beginning.
Yeah.
So of course, the money you got from RUMBLE was really not, it was like maybe 25 bucks a month, but whatever, at least it's something. It covers
Yeah.
some
It
gas.
helps.
Now though, they are starting to do what YT does, where they place commercials like, and we have zero control
Mhm.
on RU and BLE. They place all the commercials. So I have no control over that. No content creator does. Now, somebody told me it's because RU and BLE is going through a lot of lawsuits because they have not censored. And if that's the case and they're trying to generate revenue to fight these lawsuits, then I'm in total support of it
Yeah.
because at least it's for a good reason that they're having to make more. But just so you guys know, so for those of you who've left nasty comments, there's a lot you don't know that goes on with these. If you don't have a platform, there's just a lot that is out of our control that we cannot control as content creators.
Yeah.
And it's not,
And so much work goes into it.
so much work goes into this. And so, and that's what I love about YouTube and these platforms is that you can act as your own producer and you can place commercials and get money so your viewers don't have to pay for it. The ads are paying for it, so it's an equal energy exchange the best way possible. But
Mhm.
now it's just kind of gotten out of hand a little bit and it's nothing that the content creators can do about it. So also I've gotten some nasty emails that they're subscribed to me, but they're not getting notified. Content creators have nothing to do with that. We have nothing to do with that. If you subscribe to a channel and hit to be notified, that's the platform's job to notify you. There's not even a place in our back office where we can hit we don't have there's nothing content creators can do about that. That is strictly a platform issue. And I find that a lot of the complaints I've been getting lately are actual platform issues
Right.
and are out of the hands of the content creators. And I do watch some drama channels sometimes just for fun, and they kind of get the same thing. Well, they'll say it's not, you guys, we can't do anything about this. We don't have as much power as you think we have. We have to be very careful on YouTube. We have to be very, so I just wanted to put that out there. I thank you guys for your patience, but there is a lot that we cannot control. Now on the Esoteric Academy, we're in full control.
That's
So
right. So any technical issues, that's probably my department.
if you on technical issues, if you let us know there, we can fix it. but on YT or RUMBLE or bitch, any of these other places, it's not, it's a platform issue.
Yeah.
And trust me, there's no one to call. Who are you gonna call?
Yeah.
Who are you gonna call? Like, you're gonna call Zuckerberg? Like, who are you gonna call? Like, like there's no one you can call to report this stuff. So anyway, with that being said, is there anything you want to add to that, Paula? A little housekeeping before we get into this episode?
No, I think, yeah, that you pretty much said it all. Yeah.
Now, oh, one thing I forgot to add, since we're talking about the law of one and the Cassiopeians,
Yeah.
in the near future, you guys, on the Esoteric Academy with the paid stuff. Now, this is going to come with the actual academy. We're going to be doing courses
Yes.
over the Cassiopeians and the Law of One. So, in that, we kind of have to do it that way because what we're about to talk about is very dangerous. Like, we have to be a little bit careful because the powers that be that are for the darkness don't want this information out. So, yeah,
So, but at least on our platform, we can cover it all we want and go into as much
we're not
depth and
censored.
detail as we want. So,
We are not censored over there. So, now before we get into it, Paula, I guess in case we have anybody who doesn't know what the Cassiopeians or the Law of One is, just briefly, the Law of One is 4 or 5 books. I can't remember the exact number now. It's called otherwise known as the Raw Material. I can't
yeah,
remember
I'm
how many
pretty
books now.
sure
It's
it's 5.
5 books.
Yeah.
And it kind of takes spirituality and kind of gives spirituality like very much a scientific template. It's very kind of common sense. And for me, I know I've said this a lot, and I'd love to get your perception, Paula. It's really helped me at this time to be able to have discernment over what's manipulation, even coming from like the truth or world, like what's manipulation and what isn't, because of the law of one, because of the template of the polarity of positivity or the polarity of negativity. Is there anything you want to say on that? Has that, I mean,
Yeah,
what do you think about that?
I'm a lot more new to the law of one than what you are. But I do feel like it has really helped with that, with just kind of understanding. I think, an understanding of the universal laws is really important, because I think it's just so easy to forget that we are in a world of polarity, and that they're, at either end of the spectrum, for every beautiful sunset we have and every beautiful moment we have and how much love and joy we can experience, there is also the other end of the spectrum. And I think another thing that people often forget is that we actually chose to be here. Like, we chose to come to a third density planet. It wasn't like we just, because I think a lot in the Trufa community, there's a lot of theories going around that, we are trapped here, and that we just, yeah, there's some kind of entrapment going on. But from my understanding of the research that I've done, it's we chose to come here, and we chose to have amnesia, we chose to forget, and we chose to experience polarity. Because I mean, if you think about it, like if you're playing a video game, right, and you've been to lots of different worlds in the game, and you've had lots of fun playing around with them, but say you want to have a really good challenge where you can really level up. I mean, what is better than coming to Earth? I mean, there are so
Right?
many beings that have said that this is one of the most challenging places to come to. And you would only come here if you were experienced, if you knew what you were doing, and if you wanted to really level up, And so that's why it is so hard here, and it is so challenging. And I think, I know this might sound a little bit judgmental, but sometimes I feel like it can be a bit of an escape
Yep.
to kind of think, oh, well, we're being entrapped by people, like by beings or something.
It's
And
somebody
we're just,
else's fault.
yeah,
My
it's
suffering is
somebody,
somebody else's
yeah.
fault.
And it's like, well, that takes all of your power away. If you
Yeah.
believe that your soul chose to come here for, and just, you're going to get out, make the best of it that you can. It's like, like going on a hiking trip or something. You're not going hiking to smell the roses, you know. I
You're going for
mean,
fun.
you can do that along the way, but you're there because you're wanting to explore and you're wanting to learn how to trek new area, and it's challenging, and you've got to be fit and healthy to do that. You know, you can't just, just
And you're
ride
creating that
along.
wisdom within yourself and experience within yourself. And the
Exactly.
fact that we are trapped here on this planet takes away the main law, which is consent.
Yeah.
No spiritual being is entrapping you because you have to give your consent.
Yeah, to
And
come
so,
here. Yeah.
yeah, and that it take completely takes, yeah, it is giving your power away, and it is also not taking responsibility for yourself.
Yeah. That's a big
And
one.
I've said before, and some of my favorite people on the earth are actually atheists. I know that sounds crazy because I'm a yoga teacher and spent all these years in India, and I'm super woo-woo and believe in all these aliens and spirits, and I believe in all this stuff. But what I love about atheists, and my boyfriend says this a lot, God does not need you to believe in him.
Hmm.
That's ridiculous if you think God needs you to believe in him. God doesn't need anything from you. And God's going to exist whether you believe in him or not. And God's going to have unconditional love for you whether you believe in him or not.
Yeah.
Right? So thinking that an atheist is going to somehow have a different outcome in heaven or hell from you is wrong thinking on your part. Because with all that being said, all the atheists I know, the reason why I really like them is because they always take responsibility for their actions. They have nothing to blame it on because they don't believe in a higher power. So everything comes down to them and what and so therefore all the decisions that the atheists I know make, they're doing it out of their own volition and free will to try to do good for others, or to be a nicer person, to kinder person to others, or to take responsibility. If they messed up and hurt somebody's feelings, they're more apt to go and take responsibility for that. And if we're looking at the law of one, that makes them more harvestable, positive than somebody who's blaming their misfortune on something outside of themselves. And so there's a lot we can actually, as spiritual people who do believe in God, who do believe in all these things, there's a lot we can actually learn from the atheists because they're taking total responsibility, which is a lot of what we have to do. And yeah, the law of one, we're here because we're supposed to be here. It's like resistance training. When you have a polarized planet, good, bad, left, right, up, down, dark, light, that those are opposing forces. And so when there's opposing forces, that's what you get in a workout. That's the push pull.
Yeah.
That creates friction. What is friction but light, right? A match by itself, just a singular match, has everything it needs to light itself. But it cannot light itself unless that friction happens where it's struck against the matchbook.
Yeah.
And so when we look at the suffering that we go through on this planet and the joy and every human emotion that we're the smorgasbord of emotions that we experience as human beings, we're given these opportunities. And Todd says it best. If we were given comfortable lives, we would never change.
Oh, it would be so boring. I mean,
Yeah.
like, even like I think I've said this before, with like when I was younger, I used to love playing the game of Monopoly with my friends. And but the thing is, I would actually get bored if it was too easy, if I had too much money. I was just like, oh, this is getting really boring now. I can just buy everybody out, it's just game's over. But when I didn't have as much money and I kind of had to challenge myself and think, okay, I could mortgage this or I could sell that, and what can I do to get more money and get through the game? It makes it more exciting. And I feel like that's the point of us being here as well. It's if we didn't have those dark moments and those challenges, then it would just be so boring. We'd be like, we just wouldn't want to do it. And I, for one, like I have had some really challenging times and I'm so grateful for them now. I look back and I'm like, yes, if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be who I am today. Like if I had parents that just loved me unconditionally and were emotionally available, yeah, that would be nice. But would I be who I am today? I don't think I would have strived as hard as I have and done so much research into personal development and spirituality because I've been searching for answers. That hunger has been there from a young age. I've just wanted answers. If you've already got all the answers, then where's the drive to do it?
Right. What's the point in being here? And that gets into because the Cassiopeians just dropped. And you guys know I'm having so much fun. I've been going through a lot of the readings from 1994. I've got like two videos up. One is dropping tomorrow on Friday, and it's so fascinating to go back to 1994 and to see like what is actually transpiring from what they said back 31 years ago. And so I'll tag those two videos down below, you guys, if you missed them, but it's fascinating. And I think they just dropped a new reading on March 1. Um, and I think I'm going to label this video a warning from the Cassiopeians. And when I say it that way, it's not really a warning because they say this a lot in their readings, especially what I've been going through. And of course, I can't go through all the readings. That's 31 years that's just not possible. But I'm going to tag the forum down below so you guys can eat your heart out, like go through all of the stuff. And, it's all there for you. So you can go through it yourself as well. There's nothing that's being I'm not gatekeeping anything. I'm just going through what's interesting to me as a reading and bringing it to the channel. Then you guys can look at the rest for yourself. But they oftentimes, the Cassiopeians are also with the law of one, the Cassiopeians are a sixth density group that is trying to help us, but they also aren't trying to help us at the same time because they don't want to interfere with our free will, because that's what the light does. The light acknowledges, and the left is supposed to acknowledge too. And but they work off the law of one template. So service to self, service to others, the different paths that people are taking in this where we are on planet Earth's timeline right now. That's why there's so much intense friction because we're at the crescendo of this experience on planet Earth. The however many years, thousands of years we've been in third density, millions of years perhaps we've been in third density. This is the crescendo. And so that's why it's so wild right now because there is a massive, it's like first you started lifting 2 pounds, then 3 pounds, then 5 pounds, and now we're lifting 100 pounds. That friction is really hard before we break through to the other side.
Yeah.
And so the Cassiopeians do not want to interfere with our free will because that is not okay. You can't do that. But they will help guide us so that we are given more information to be able to make better decisions. And one thing that before we get to this reading, I wanted to cover in 1994 that I'm going through that they say this a lot. And I was telling you, Paula, off camera, I'm not trying to like toot my own horn or anything, but I think for me, this is where I'm really grateful for my 19 years of yogic study because I understand what the Cassiopeians are saying when they say this. A lot of times the Cassiopeians will say to Laura or the people channeling, you're thinking third density, you're thinking third density, because they will say things like, not everybody is going to go to fourth density positive. And then the people get upset. Well, we want to save everyone. The Cassiopeians are like, hey now, what do you mean you want to save everybody? That's a selfish. That's you. Every single human being has their own soul contract. And who are you to think that you know better, somebody else's soul contract better than them and God? It's none of your business what somebody else's soul contract is. It's their business. And I know that from the Cassiopeians, they've said that there are a lot of souls on the earth right now who are in third density who came to earth knowing that they would not graduate this round, but they were let in to build up extra credit because it's so hard right now. So that when they go to their next life, they'll then be able to ascend.
Yeah.
And I think too, Paula, what happens is in third density, we also have this, again, it's polarity. So we have this idea of winners and losers. Somebody's got to get there first, which is all ego. That's all false knowledge because time is eternal. And so in the spirit world, there's no race. It doesn't matter to them. Like if you hang out in third density well over your time to move on to fourth, they don't care.
Yeah. Why not?
If you're enjoying it, have fun. If you're enjoying it, like cool. It's eternal. And so we have, I think in third density, we have this, we got to save everyone and we got to move forward. But in the world of the divine,
it's not our job. Yeah. And I get like that too. Like over the years, when I've learned about a new healing technique or new way of looking at things, I just was like, everybody needs to know this and everybody needs to know it now. And I've had to just kind of calm myself down and just think, okay, if the right person comes along and they're interested, I can share that with them. But I can't just go ramming it down everybody's throats because what's right for me and what works for me is good for me, but that's not necessarily going to work for other people. And I think it's the same thing I was saying to you off camera, Brice, how I recently watched that show Apple Cider Vinegar, and there's a part in there where this one lady, she's really, really sick, and her husband is just gutted, and he wants her to go to chemo and get better and that kind of a thing. And she's just like, no, I want to go on this trip that we had planned. And he doesn't want to go. He wants to stay behind. And he's just like, I don't want to lose you. And he starts crying and he's upset and he's like, I don't want you to die. And she's just like, well, that's on you. That's your issue that you need to work out. Like, she's like, I want to do this for me. And she does. She goes on the trip and she has an ayahuasca experience, and and she has an amazing experiences. And then when she comes back, she's ready to then go to the hospital and do what she needs to do. But I just love that she said that like, it's like, that's on you. And it's of course we don't want to lose somebody that we love so much, but we have to get out of this 3D thinking and this programming that this is it. This is the only life we've got, and this is it. Just because that's all we remember right now,
Doesn't mean that's all there is.
Exactly. That's not all there is. We have so many lives. And hey, if people that you love don't go 40 positive, that's okay. Like, we've got to learn to do the work on ourselves to be okay with whatever people want to do. And I think this is a huge parenting issue as well, is parents can just become so controlling of their kids and just like, you have to do this, you have to have this career. And it is coming from a place of love because they want their child to be successful and have a high paying job and be comfortable and do all the right things. But at the end of the day, you just have to back off and just think that your child is on their journey. Your friends, your family members, whoever's in your life, they are on their own journey, even pets too. So many people hold on to their pets, not wanting to let them go when they're suffering and they're in pain. And it's like, we need to let them go and go move on to the next thing. But yeah, anyways, I'm rambling now.
No, it's perfect. It's beautiful. And for people that are triggered by this, like, that's a you problem. Like, if you're trying to pull all these people with you on your journey, then why are you trying to control them? Why are you trying to control the people in your life? Why do you think you know better than God?
Yeah.
And that own person with their own journey. We say in yoga, do not interrupt somebody's karma. Do not interrupt somebody's karma, because that will just add more karma for you to work through, because that's you trying to control somebody else. And that's not service to others. That's service to self. That's the negative polarity masked, because the negative polarity likes to mask it with some higher noble reason. And no, it's selfishness. That's all it is. And they even talk about that in some of the earlier readings, because we've been taught, especially in the Western world, a Christian-based world, that we should pray for people and we should, send healing to people. And the Cassiopeians are like, well, you can do that, but you're building more karma for yourself, because that person didn't ask you to do that.
Yeah. I think that's such an important point, and you've shared that on your channel before. And I think it's something that people really need to realize, especially people in the healing community. When you learn Reiki or some other kind of healing, you just get excited and you want to share it with everybody. But you have to remember that everybody has free will. We can't just be.
Yeah. And there's lessons. That person, you don't know what that person's karmic path is. You don't know what they decided for their soul. There are certain lessons that their soul needs to learn. And if you're interrupting those lessons because you are arrogant enough to think that you know better,
or you feel uncomfortable about it,
that you're trying to hijack that person's karmic experience, then that's putting you on the negative. And a lot of healers are that way. They think because they've gone and done all these things and they know how to do Reiki, that they somehow are superior to this person in making these decisions. No, you're not. You're in the sight of light, we're all equal. We all have different talents, but we're all equal in value. So whether you're a master Reiki person or, like me, an authorized teacher, I can only help someone if they come to me and ask me for help. And even in that situation, I can only teach them. Paula can only heal them to an extent. They have to take that initiative to carry it home.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so if you're out there thinking that you know better, that you should pray for someone and send them healing because you know better, that is a very arrogant and, dare I say it, narcissistic view. That's a you problem. Because that person that you think needs the healing, Perhaps they do need healing, but that's not your call. And perhaps they will get healing later, but right now there might be some lessons that their soul needs to go through. And if you hijack that opportunity from them, that's you controlling them and enslaving them to your desire.
Yeah, and sometimes
That's
people need to get pushed to a certain point. Like it's not nice and it's horrible to watch, but sometimes people kind of need to hit rock bottom. I mean, I've had to hit rock bottom a few times in my life to be like, okay, now I need to make that change, or now I need to follow through with that. Because, even a lot of people with health issues, people are like, oh, yeah, I should eat better and I should drink more water and I should exercise, I should do this. And they don't do it. But then if they get the C word, or if they get a heart problem or something, then boom, that just smacks them in the face and they're like, okay, yeah, I've got to make changes and I've got to do it now. But if they don't hit that rock bottom point, they don't have that natural inner desire and inner drive from inside to make those changes and follow through.
And that's where wisdom comes from, right? Knowledge can be learned through books. Knowledge can be learned through studying, but wisdom can't be taught to you. Wisdom has to come from effort and experience.
Yeah.
And so don't interrupt somebody's wisdom. And when you're forced to learn something versus choosing to learn something, the something you learn is the same, but it has a different effect when you've made the choice to learn it. It's like, as you're saying that, Paula, I'm thinking about when I broke my sacrum, and the teacher who broke my sacrum, I did not know this at the time, already had a reputation for doing something like this. Now, what if, Paula, somebody had stopped me from going to that shala that day and I never broke my sacrum? What would have happened? Because I broke my sacrum, that is what's made me a better teacher.
Yeah.
After I broke, that's what introduced me to bar work. That's what got me to find other. So if someone had tried to stop me instead of having me experience that for myself, I wouldn't be sitting here on YouTube with you right now. I would not have the Esoteric Academy. I would still be a Mysore teacher.
Yeah, and your exercise classes wouldn't be what they are today because of that you got into the bar work and you just create the best. I mean, I'm biased now. I think your exercise classes are the best.
Well, I enjoy them too, but it taught me, and that's what our friend Cindy, she's got some classes up on our page as well. She talks about that's what injury gives you, an opportunity to redirect. And so because that happened to me, because I broke my sacrum, I was forced to redirect. I was forced to figure something else out. And in being forced to redirect, it was either quit and don't do anything and just lie around and be miserable, or redirect. And I chose to redirect. That's why I'm here with you now. And so if somebody had stepped in and said, don't go to this teacher, he's going to do this to you, and I never did, the whole domino effect.
Yeah, you'd be
so obviously that had to happen.
Yeah.
That had to happen. That was a part of the karmic plan for me, was to have that interaction with that person, break my sacrum, so that I was forced to find the wisdom and the experience to be able to create something new, which Tamara, even in 2020, when she did my chart, back in 2020, she was like, you're going to do something with your Eastern training with like more modern, she did her arms like this, more modern, like dance. So that was obviously in my chart.
Yeah.
So if somebody had stepped in because they thought they knew better and stopped me from going to that teacher,
yeah,
it would have derailed my whole soul contract. And that would have been on that person.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Like,
absolutely.
You gotta let people now. Someone could have warned me, and just warn me, but I still decided to go. You can do that. You can warn people, but if they still decide to go, you can't stop them.
Yeah.
It even goes down to these.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I know, because I remember there's a person, like a family friend I know, and I knew that she wanted to get pregnant soon, and I messaged her and I sent her a video and I was like, whatever you do, don't do this, And afterwards I realized that, like, yeah, that's not my place to say that to somebody. I might feel that way about it, but that person feels differently about it. And there are a lot of people out there that truly believe that it's going to save their life. And you know what? On a vibrational level, it can save their lives, because like our thoughts and our beliefs really change what's going on in our body. So if we're ingesting something or having something put into us that we believe is for our highest good and that's going to save us, then it often will. But if we're ingesting something and feeling guilty about it, or feeling bad or feeling like we're terrified of having it, then we can have a negative, it can have a negative effect on our body. So that's another thing where it's kind of like, after that, I kind of just left it, and I've never been a pushy person anyway about anything. I don't like pushing anything onto anyone. And so I just kind of thought, you know what, like everybody's on their own journey, and if they want to go and get that, that's fine. And it's just, I'm not going to judge them for doing that. But then, I found that the people that weren't getting it done were more like, people were more
Yeah, more
judgmental towards
judged. Yeah.
us. It was
Which
like,
has
oh
been
my
pretty
gosh.
so, and that goes back to like there's this like whole thing in the truther community where people think these were a placebo, and I just put my head, I'm like, no, they're not. No, they're not placebos.
Yeah, I mean, look,
That's
they're
you.
all going to be different and contain different amounts of different things depending on the batch that's being made at the time, but you can't guarantee that all of them are.
When you can't. So if somebody says, yes, I want this, give me this, I'm making the choice for this.
But that's what
And
they
another
want.
person would say, well, I know better than you. So for your greater good, I'm going to trick you. I'm going to trick you. Then that person, you are inflicting your will onto that person because you think that you know better.
Mhm.
So there's no placebo.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, I just did a reading about the Nephilim, where they were talking about the Nephilim coming in. It's going to come through in DNA mutation, and Laura and I talked about these. Now, with that being said, if you got this, but you're a good person, and the Cassiopeians have talked about this in past readings. If somebody got this and they're not pushing it on other people, and they're really good people, this is not going to affect them.
Yeah.
But if they're the ones pushing it, that's what can change the DNA mutation. Now, with that being said, too, people get mad about the warp speed from Mr. T. Well, my boyfriend has said this. What makes you think that Mr. T isn't aware of the law of one and knows that there's a vast number of souls that agreed to leave?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
that's their out.
Yeah.
This is all, so you cannot force your will to try to force your will onto, if you're all into holistic healing, which is awesome, amazing, but you're trying to force that onto somebody else, it stops being positive.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It goes into negative because you're inflicting your will onto somebody, right? And now what somebody does to you, that's their issue. Like we got it majorly. Those of us who didn't get this, you guys know, we got major blowback. That's their karma.
Yeah,
Doesn't give you
because
any
they're the
right to do
ones that were
anything.
judgmental. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and try
But
to
like,
enforce their will.
so I'm reading this book on my channel at the moment, The Golden Future, and I love it because I just think it's such a beautiful book. And Diana Cooper says in this that this was a choice, like everybody that chose to get that and has passed on from it, that was their sole choice to do that.
Yes,
And also
absolutely.
because even she says in there that the amount of people on the world, in the planet right now, is far exceeded what it's meant to have. But that's because so many people were coming in to clear their karma and
Mhm.
at this time. And then that's why so many people did pass from that, because that's what that was part of their soul contract. So I just think we can't go around saying that everybody should or shouldn't have got it done, because that's not
Yeah,
our sole business.
it's
That's not our
not your
business.
karma. It's not
Yeah.
your, well, and I'll do you one else too. Something interesting people should consider. So
Hmm.
the Cassiopeians say this. So all of us who are fourth density eligible, who have souls and are fourth density positive eligible, some of us are going to be here till the bitter end. Some of us aren't. Some people agreed to harvest earlier than others.
Right.
So my friend Doug Kramer, for example, I think my boyfriend and I have had conversations. He passed away in 2023. I think he's already in 40 positive, just waiting for
Oh.
the rest of us. That's what I think. Because a lot of our grandparents who they just went ahead and went to, that was their agreement that some of us were going to be more frontline and be here till the bitter end to help push the earth positive.
Hmm.
But the others were going to bail out early and wait for us. So people who got this, it
Oh,
doesn't mean
that's
they're going
interesting.
negative. They probably got this to bail over. They were going to bail out
Yeah.
earlier.
And
So
I
you
think
don't
the
know. That's
ones
the thing.
And I think the ones that are feel behind, like I think if you're a person that, because I've felt for a very long time that like I'm on a mission. I've got stuff to do. Like I need to help people. And I just have felt this inner desire to sort myself out so then I can help others. And I feel like the ones that are meant to be on the front line, you have that inner desire to be like, yeah, I've got to do something. You don't always know what. It's taken me the longest time to figure out how I wanted to help, but I've just had that inner drive and inner desire. And I know you do too, Brice. So you've just
Yeah.
had that inner desire where you're like, it gets you up every day to do
I
stuff.
was telling with my boyfriend because after Doug passed away and we kind of came to that conclusion in our own guesstimation. I don't know. That's just our speculation because of what the Cassiopeians have said. I looked at my boyfriend. I was like, damn it. I was like, I think we're going to be here till the bitter end. I was like,
Damn it, we signed up for that.
I was like, what? Can we just bail out too and just meet everybody over on the other side? And he was like,
It's
it's
so
not how
much
that works.
easier.
Your soul already made that kind of that contract that you would stay for X amount of time, and some were going to leave earlier than others. And so and that's the same for the people going harvesting 40 negative too, and so you can't, with that, all that being said, you don't know somebody else's soul plan. You don't know. You don't. If you think you do, if you think you know better than somebody else about their life, or if you know better than God in that person, the arrangement of that person, then that's a you problem. And that's a selfish problem. And so you can suggest things to people, but you can't force them.
Yeah.
People have to make that decision for themselves. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share screen, Paula, the main event, because the Cassiopeians, I love the Cassiopeians. They're funny. They have the funniest sense of humor. Like I've been reading nonstop in my spare time, just going through all these readings, and they make fun of the people. Like they're just funny. They're funny. Um, so I'm kind of skipping the beginning part. We talked about this because in the beginning with the Cassiopeians, and they get mad at them a lot because they'll ask all these personal questions, and the Cassiopeians are like, let's talk about the greater whole. This isn't a one-on-one. Let's talk about just
Yeah.
information for the greater whole. But I've learned that when they do allow for personal questions, it's because whatever that person is asking about their life can also affect
Other people.
somebody else as well, can help somebody else too. So, but in the beginning, they're talking about this. I'm not even sure what
Yeah,
the
I wasn't
condition.
familiar with that health problem that was mentioned at the top.
What was it called? Gabby, what is a syndrome? What does it? There's a name for it, and even Todd, my boyfriend Todd was like, I don't even know what that is. So they're going into basically
Yeah, it's
this
quite a
issue.
way up the top. Yeah.
Yeah, this syndrome that this girl Gabby, who's at the reading, is having,
Yeah.
and it has a name. So there's obviously this is something that some people do struggle with because it has a name. And the question they said, so I just kind of want to put this out there. So Joe asked, does their cluster of symptoms have a medically known name or syndrome attached to it? Answer, not so much, but close to Gabby syndrome. So they're talking about different types of medical conditions that people have. And they say there are many conditions that are specific to the individual. Your science likes to group them for a definitive diagnosis when that's not always possible or accurate. And I thought that was really, really interesting. So down here again in our third level thinking, and I'm not saying all scientists and doctors are bad for doing this. I think this is just how our mind categorizes things in the third density. We have like, let's just take like kind of a benign, like arthritis. Like I have arthritis. It's benign, but it's still annoying, right?
Mhm.
So I have arthritis. Somebody else could also have arthritis. These have been classified as the same thing. But yet my reaction to the arthritis and other people's reaction is going to be different because they're slightly going to vary depending on the individual. So not all conditions are actually the same. They're specific to the individual. And this goes in again to karma, the karma that people possess. And again, that goes back into what we were talking about previously with this idea of suffering and the friction and woe is me, having that woe is me attitude versus saying, okay, everything, every hurdle, every obstacle that I meet in this life is actually resistance training for my soul to refine itself.
Yeah.
And it's something I've already agreed to, right? And I thought that was
Sorry,
just very
just
interesting.
to interrupt you, I found it's high spectrum no hypermobility syndrome or hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos and or spectrum hypermobility syndrome. I'm not really familiar with that one.
Yeah, it's probably one of those syndromes where people's joints pop out easily.
Right.
And they asked, is this what gives her psychic abilities? I think the Cassiopeians were like, kind of, but like this is all, the Cassiopeians will just say apples and oranges. Like whenever there's like they always say apples and oranges, apples and oranges. So like that they pick up on certain things we say and then they repeat it a lot. It's kind of funny. But yeah, and I hope, we talk about this so much like on our channels, our friends' channels, that sickness, or what we know as sickness, is not necessarily what we think it is. But that doesn't mean that just because you take a holistic route, that it's still going to be beneficial, because every single person is an individual, and it's their individual karma, and that it's up to that person as to how they want to address that obstacle. Yeah. So Laura says, there can be theoretically as many conditions as there are people, thanks to the wonderful process called genetic recombination. Um, and they just say, okay, so it would be true to say that any solutions or mitigating factors that apply to Gabby's case will also apply, generally speaking, too. And they took a name away. Yes. So basically, like, there's no one. I mean, I took that to mean like when we talk about genetic recombination, we're talking about inherited karma too. Like when you think about when you were being created in your mother's womb, your mother has like millions of years of ancestors, and so does your father. Your soul picked exactly what genetic qualities it wanted from both parents in order to fulfill whatever karmic responsibility it had on this planet.
Yeah.
So if there was something, let's take like, okay, let's take arthritis. There's some lesson that I need to learn from having arthritis. So my grandmother, my dad's mom, has arthritis. So I obviously made sure that that was going to be in my genetic makeup when my soul was creating this outfit, this body, right? Whereas that's the only grandparent I know that has it. So I had all these other people that didn't have it. So the likelihood of getting it was actually slim, but I got it. So does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And I was saying off camera that I just don't feel like with with illness, it's just not black and white, because so many people, some people heal from certain things and then some people don't, and they end up passing away from it. And I just feel like that's all just very much dependent on a person's life journey and what they need to learn as well. And some people just need to overcome an illness in order to learn the lessons that they need to learn in that life. And so I just don't think it's fair to say that, oh, if somebody changes, just, it's just all because of diet, or it's all because of, genetics, or it's all because of anything. I just feel like there's so much gray area, or there's so many different things that can
So
impact,
many factors.
yeah,
Or
someone's
it's
health.
because of what they're spraying in the air.
Yeah,
That can help ignite an issue, but that's not the cause of the issue. The cause
yeah,
of the issue is already predetermined by your soul.
yeah,
This is interesting. So, Joe, they say a soul entering a body can change the genes, correct? So, what's a soul but consciousness or information? So, if prior to incarnation, a soul had a general idea of what kind of conditions it was going to enter into, then it would be part of its awareness, its consciousness, and as it enters the body, it can then change. Yeah, it can then change it. And that we see that in yoga. People biologically change their genetic coding when they've been practicing yoga for a long time. We've said the science has studied this.
yeah,
And so all illness and dis-ease is where there is lack of consciousness.
yeah,
We've talked about this before, that they call it avidya. Avidya is false knowledge. So where there is false knowledge, there is dis-ease.
mhm,
So once that knowledge is corrected, the consciousness can correct that.
yeah.
But
And
that's that.
those cells in your body, those illness cells or C word cells, can actually be turned on or off depending on your beliefs and things like that. I mean, Bruce Lipton wrote a whole book about that. I mean, it's just absolutely fascinating. So, but yeah, it's very interesting that they say about the soul coming in and being able to change and affect that.
Yeah. And it's all because it's part of your curriculum.
Yeah,
It's like getting school supplies,
yeah,
right? Getting your school supplies. You need this type of pencil, that type of notebook, and the soul comes in and makes sure it has everything, and it can manipulate. Uh-oh, I got the wrong notebook, so I got to go back to the store and exchange it. I got to go back to the DNA and like pull in what I need. Which gives us another I think another perspective of why it takes 9 months in the uterus. So while the body's growing, the soul is busy constructing that body to make sure it's got what it needs
Yeah.
in order to have whatever type of karmic path. And all karma is, you guys, I say this all the time. I think sometimes in the West, we don't quite fully understand karma. All karma is work. That's all it is. It's work. It's just cause and effect. That's it. That's it. All right. So they also talk about a near Earth asteroid impacting Earth or Moon or neither. And they say Moon most likely, but it's still open. So they say that a lot, it's still variables. So not everything is written in stone. Obviously, our free will can direct and change things. Let's see here. Let me kind of skim down. I'm going to put all this down in the link below, you guys, so you can read it for yourself. So wave is universal phenomenon, not galactic. So the wave they're referring to, and this is the wave series, which we're going to get more into again on the Esoteric Academy in the future. So here's the first book, Riding the Wave. And Laura always says that if you want to really understand the Cassiopeians, you have to read these books to understand what the wave is. So the wave is like a cataclysmic event that it's like, in my mind's eye, the way I see it, my third D mind's eye, it's like that final push when you're in labor and delivery, that wave of push that pushes you into the next timeline. And so they're saying this is not a galactic phenomenon, meaning that this wave is not coming from other beings. It's just the natural rhythm of what the evolution cycle is. But we're going to feel it. There is going to be an event where there is a wave. For those of us that are here till the bitter end, we're going to ride that wave. And it's not, and that's kind of what we're getting to, is that what I thought was really important for us to talk about. Is there anything you want to say about that, Paula? Just interrupt me
Yeah.
if there's something to
Well,
say.
I just kind of feel like, whether it's the wave coming or whatever it ends up being, that's where it is so important to prepare ourselves in terms of being physically strong, being
Yep.
as healthy as we can be. Look, we all know that there's poisons everywhere in the air, in the water, in the food, but we can still do the best we can. I mean, obviously, you can't be living off grid. It's just not realistic for most people. So we can't be just cutting out everything, but just being generally as healthy and well as you possibly can. And I think personally, like just being strong physically as
Yep.
well as mentally and emotionally. So doing exercise on a regular basis and just doing the work on yourself, working through those shadow parts of yourself, then I feel like, at least from the research I've done, the more we work on ourselves and make ourselves stronger emotionally, physically, and also spiritually, then this transition isn't going to hit us quite as hard as those that, that haven't done as much work on themselves. So, if people are wondering, well, why should we even bother, putting in any effort to any of this? It's because we want the transition to be a bit more comfortable. And I think you were saying to me that, like, it's all right for the little ones that are kind of born after 2000, isn't it? Because they're already in a 4D
They're
body.
already in their 40 bodies. Yeah.
So,
So
so
like
they're
our
lucky,
kids.
damn them.
Yeah. Well,
But for the
actually,
rest of
and
us,
that it's because so the kids born after 2000 are already in their fourth density bodies. They're not activated yet, but they're already in their fourth density bodies. So once that hits, their bodies will automatically shift. But for us, we're gonna have to go through
go
the
through it.
shift, the different 3D bodies,
Yeah, our
and
bodies are changing.
our body's gonna have to change. Well, and but that's because we're the older souls.
Hmm.
We can handle it. Now, I love how you talked about that because they now on all of our exercises, I'm big. Exercise for me is purely spiritual. However, the C's, the Cassiopeians have spoken about this. When this wave hits, when this blast comes, whatever, however, I don't know. None of us really know. They won't be specific. They're different variables.
Right.
It is going to physically knock us out. So we are going to experience. We're going to have to go into like a resting phase after that because it's going to wreck our bodies. If you want to prep your body, they'd say resistance training.
Right. Interesting. Okay. I didn't know
Resistance
that they've
training.
said that.
Yeah. So, and that's what yoga is. That's what, and the funny thing is, back in like 2020, so I had already been doing bar, but as far as like weights, I'd never really gotten into like weightlifting. But all of a sudden, in like 2020, both me and my boyfriend simultaneously like got this, like, I don't want to say download, got this message like, you need to start lifting weights. And we have a whole set of weights in there, started to like just automatically knew we needed to start working with weights.
That's
And so that's
funny
why
because a couple of like, yeah, I wonder if it was around like, was it about maybe 2 years ago? I also just felt that I should start weight training and I bought some weights. I didn't really stick to it very well, so I need to
Well,
get back into it.
I incorporate weights into a
Yeah,
lot of
you
the
do. That's
also
right.
weights.
You do. I
So
need to buy some smaller ones to add into the moves. Because I
yeah,
bought some kind of bigger, heavier ones. But isn't that funny? Wow, I didn't realize that. And so they believe that the resistance training is going to help our
help your
bodies.
body, help your body
Right.
transition. It gets it healthier to transition. And so they did so I and that's what I use. So I use like 2 to 3 pound weights and I do it in work so working the muscles in a different way on our videos. But
Yeah.
that's why I added that in was because I had gotten that download. My boyfriend had gotten that download. Another friend I have in Norway who's an Ashtanga teacher as well, because he's awake like we are. We were texting, and he had also woke up one day and joined a gym and started weightlifting too. So we all across the world had gotten these like, we need to get even stronger. Why? We don't know. We're just being told that this has to happen.
Yeah.
And then the Cassiopeians talked about it, that it's going to help you withstand whatever force is coming. Your body's going to be able to hold. You think about that core strength hold
Yes.
so that, and it's still going to like wreck us. It's still going to make, we're still going to probably be a little bumped and bruised, but
But at least it
metaphor.
would make the transition a bit easier. Do you
Yeah.
think
But
it could possibly be a solar flare? Because a lot of people talk about solar flares.
I don't know. I think that what I've learned from the Cassiopeians, whatever you think is going to happen,
It's
probably isn't going to.
yeah, okay. Because they don't want us like we're obviously not meant to know because
Yeah.
otherwise we're going to see it coming. So whatever it's going to be what we
And we
haven't
just got
thought
to
of.
live in the moment. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Is make choices in the moment. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. There's
Yeah.
nothing we can do to avoid it. This is the path we're on. This is what we picked to do. This is interesting. They talk any of the recent spate of airplane collision crashes the result of 40 bleed through? Some. So we're having a lot of plane crashes lately, and it's because we're
Yeah.
having this 40 bleed through. So the veil is thinning and it messes up the mechanics. If yes, are plane instruments giving readings that are confusing the pilots and leading to collision? Some. Well, friendly. Will air travel become much more dangerous generally? Yes, and others. So this is super important. And I have felt this. I refuse to get on an airplane like ever since I thought it was because of these. Like I didn't want to get on one with a pilot who had this.
Yeah.
But I
That
have
is the
spent before
risk.
2020, I was internationally traveling back and forth to India, all over Europe, like monthly, yearly. My passport's full of visas. And then once 2020 happened, it was like, nope,
Yeah.
not getting on an airplane anytime soon. So, and so they say all other travel, like walking, laughing, cycling, rollerblading, walking in the back garden, that's travel. No. On the plane thing, that was a general question, but I just wanted to know the Black Hawk helicopter that crashed into the jet over the DC area. What was the cause of that? Laura, didn't we already ask that? We haven't had a session since then. Was that one, an accident as reported? Mostly. Question, mostly. Ah, it could have been one of the bleed through ones where the pilot was unsure of something. What is the root of it? I'm not going to say this on YouTube because it's a huge with those right now. Oh, really? Wow. Were there other worldly elements to it? Some. So, in other words, this selected person was involved who is susceptible to manipulation. Is that what we're getting at? Yes, exactly. So, do you know what this program is, Paula, in
Um,
Australia?
I'm not so familiar with that.
This is a program. I'm not going to say the initials here. I'm not going to say what
Yeah.
they stand for because of YouTube.
Because when I was
Where
reading this, I didn't really understand what it was talking
so
about.
this is where people have to be hired based off of their race and gender or sexual orientation versus their abilities to do the job.
Oh, right.
So it started as affirmative action here in the United States. Now it's turned into this. So they're basically saying that this went down because a person was hired
Chosen.
to fly it. The A wasn't the best qualified person to fly it. And because they were in this category, they were susceptible to
Yes.
manipulation,
Okay, gotcha.
which that's what the left is really, really pushing. And Mr. T, President T, just got rid of that program. Like if
Good.
you want a job, you have
You've
to
got
be
to
the
be
best person for
qualified.
the job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Jeez.
So, And what about 2 days after that? There was the jet that crashed in Philadelphia. Um, was that an accident as described? Not exactly. Okay, what was the root of that one bleed through? So that one was a bleed through, meaning that the pilot got confused because all of a sudden the density of air changed because we're in the process of transferring into 4D. Does that make sense, the bleed through aspect?
Yeah. Yeah.
The pilot was going fast, so he thought it was at a different altitude, I guess. So we could ask that about every single one and probably get every single one would have a different combinations of factors. Is that it? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, one more. These are three big ones. There are a lot of things. The Toronto one, so a Delta airline plane crashed into a snowy runway in Toronto and flipped upside down. What was at the root of that one? Same thing as the,
Above.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that person that wasn't qualified for the job was doing the job because of their race or gender, right?
Wow.
The way they were flying it, they just slammed down and broke the landing gear. They just thought they knew what they were doing and they didn't. The Black
Oh.
Hawk one over DC was weird. That was a whole conspiracy theory. So they're just kind of talking amongst themselves. Was it so they talk about other stuff. Was it considered a possible message by the Trump administration or as a warning? No. Oh, well. Okay. All right. Next question. That's what I like about the C's too. So a lot of the things that we think are conspiracy theories actually aren't.
Yeah,
They
right.
correct it.
Mm-hmm. Because it's
Um,
so easy to get lost.
into the cul-de-sac of junk conspiracy
Yeah.
cul-de-sac where you're spinning in
So many
circles. Yeah.
rabbit holes to go down.
Let's see. Let me see. You, in other words, no, they're actually all right. Who is usually being transferred from 3D to 5D by means of high-tech elevators, which are mentioned in the January 25th session? What do you know? So the answer is, what do you know of angels or demons? Like Jacob's ladder, yes, I see. So it'd be like a 5D angel demon type that would use them to come and go, but it's not, well, I don't know what to say. Okay, two, what is the most common purpose of transferring somebody to 3D to 5B by means of these high-tech elevators? SPA. I don't know what that means, but what they're basically saying is so when we have these entities that come from other densities, they have to come, it's hard to come in at their density, so they have to come in a particular way.
Right.
Now we're talking D, we're not talking dimension. I stay away from dimension because I think dimension is more of a manipulation. There are dimensions, but I think people sometimes manipulate that. Whereas density, there's no manipulation with the density. So when they say 3D to 5D, they're talking third density to fifth density because they don't talk about dimensions, the Cassiopeians. So like, Paula, we have people on YouTube that sit on YouTube and tell their audience that they're already in the fifth dimension. No, they're not. No, they're not because they can't be.
Yeah, because
Their consciousness is here.
they would be they wouldn't be experiencing all the polarity and everything. And so
No, they would have
yeah.
already left their
And then we
body.
wouldn't see them because
Yeah,
we're still
they would have
in.
left their body. So I
Yeah.
think that's more of that 3D manipulation where someone wants to get on YouTube and be like, I'm better than you. I know better than you because I'm in 5D. I'm in fifth dimension. No, you're not. That's why I think the law of one is so it helps us see things clearly for what they are and the reality of what's going on. And so that's yeah. So that's what the elevator is. Anyway, who operates such elevators apart from fourth density service to self beings? So kind of to back up a little bit, with the service to self, they're the ones that are more likely to try to come and interfere. So a lot of times, when people think they've seen angels or they think they've seen um, a benevolent being, it's actually a malevolent being trying to manipulate you
Right.
because it takes a lot of energy to come to Earth, and true beings of the light will not interfere. They will not interfere unless you call on them and it's necessary for you. Sometimes when you call them, they won't interfere too because you can do it by yourself and it's going to interfere with your learning experience.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
want you to
very
figure it
rare.
out yourself.
Yeah, it's actually very rare to have a experience with a positive being. And my friend Cindy, who has classes on our course, she always says when she's doing her work, she says when a being comes in, are you here for unconditional love? They have to answer the question. They cannot lie to you because of free will consent. 9 times out of 10, they say no. So that's why you have to be very careful. You even have to have discernment with over what you think you're seeing too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Know the right questions to ask.
Yeah.
All right. So stop me anytime, Paula. You want me to stop on
Yeah,
anything?
yeah. Yeah. No, that's all good. Yeah.
So I guess if we're talking about 3D to 5D, we're talking about demons or angels. And if we're talking about people, I mean, is this how people go to 5D? So when a body expires, we'll say, because I don't want to see the D word, 5D is a resting area. So people will first go, our soul will first go to 5D to rest for a minute, and then they'll return back to where they need to be. Because 5D is where people rest. All right. Not exactly. So when people they transfer through their own kind of silver core to their 5D self, and that's differently activated, is that correct? Yes. So there's a core to our higher self. Now what something that drives me crazy, Paula, is we see people going, well, I asked the person's higher self for permission. No, you didn't. Because the higher self is not going to get involved with a stranger. The higher self's responsibility is just to protect the person, the lower self. So have you heard people doing tarot card readings or whatever, and they want to read on somebody and they ask their higher self for
Yeah.
permission? No, that was probably a lizard being or something, a 40 negative that was manipulating you to interfere with somebody's karma. Because the only 5D self that's attached to the lower self, they're only concerned with the lower self. They're not going to go and speak for you. The lower self is a self that's experiencing karma, not the higher self.
Yeah.
So if the higher self would go and speak for you, the lower self, then
Well,
the
then that's
higher self is just
overriding the free will.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And so yeah, I can't stand that now. I'm seeing that happening a lot. And it's like, no, you're manipulating people when you say that because the higher self is not the self that's experiencing the karma. And so therefore its only job is to monitor its lower self, step in when needed. The higher self isn't going to talk to anybody else because that's not the responsibility of the higher self.
Yeah.
It's to help the person. So it makes sense. Like once you understand the rules of the law of one, the rules of the game, it
Yeah.
makes sense. And it's so easy to see where we're being manipulated.
Yes.
All right, but 4D can also use these because they exist, or maybe they exist because of angels or demons that come into our world. Is that true? Yes. Um, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well are the plans of the powers that be succeeding right now? Depends on who you think you're referring to. The
I thought
current
that was an interesting answer.
the current elites are not doing so well, but the quorum is doing quite well. So we
So
talked
can
about
you
this.
just refresh what the quorum is?
So the quorum is from what I understand, that's like the principal's office.
Right.
So like they talked about the quorum with this,
Yep.
and the quorum was the one that was in charge in deciding that
Yes.
Mr. T would not be eliminated. Was that correct?
Mhm.
So he talked about this. So basically, the 4D negative service to self entities. So our elites in this world, call them whatever, the Luma Schmati, they worship these 4D service to self entities. And according to the law of one, the 4D service to selves is where that's where the dark side has the most power, is when they're in 4D.
Okay.
So in the dark polarity, the darkness can't create anything, only the light can create. So it's kind of a dog eat dog world. So these elites worship and do these ceremonies with little ones
Mhm.
to give life force. And then these entities give them power and money and all that kind of stuff. Now, however, what had happened was this is why we were so shocked that the sporting event, I have to be very careful what I say, the sporting event that happened in November went so well. It's because the quorum, the principal's office, stepped in. And I think it's a yellow card in soccer. I know red card, you're out of the game, but a yellow card is a warning. They yellow carded basically the 4D service to self entities we call demons. It said, you are crossing a line. You are pushing the rules of consent too far. If you continue with this plan, you're going to get red carded and you're going to lose your polarity. So you're going to lose your power.
Yep.
So the
Wow.
4D entities because they are service to self, they don't give a shit about their little minions. They don't care about the elites. They're just using them just like the elites are using. So the 4D negatives were like, okay. And so when these elites went to go channel to figure out what to do, they weren't getting anything. It was a dead line.
Right.
It's not like a 4D service to self came in and said, hey guys, we've been yellow carded. We can't help you anymore. Because to go and tell them that would be of service to others, to
Yeah,
warn them.
wow.
So they just backed away. And so that's why we see the elite scrambling right now because they don't know what to do. Their coach is gone. But the quorum is fine. The 4D service to self entities are doing quite fine because they pulled back before they lost their polarity. So
Gotcha.
that's what, yeah. And they stepped in with Mr. T because that was that's when the quorum stepped in and like red card and said you can't do this, and that's why he wasn't removed.
It wasn't eliminated. Yeah. And
Yeah,
so
and his
that's why
higher
they're
self.
saying that the elites are not doing so well because they've just lost their coach and they're just like, what are we doing now? Right. But then,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But the other higher beings are perfectly fine.
Because they backed off when they were told to.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
they backed off. So that's why we're seeing, and that's why it's kind of comical right now. That's why they look like such, that's why all of a sudden they're exposing themselves so much because before they had help from the service to self entities on how to manipulate
Right. And how to
what to
disguise
do.
and stay invisible and things like that.
And now they don't have that help, so they just look like idiots. So it's
Right.
kind of comical. And
Yeah.
also, it wasn't just the quorum, it was also Trump's higher self that pulled him too, because it wasn't his time to go. So that's when the higher self will pull in.
Yes.
Two is when it's not your time, they'll pull you with that cord, they'll pull, right? So he turned, not just because of the quorum, but because his higher self probably pulled his head.
Right.
That
Wow.
wasn't in his soul plan, that wasn't in his contract.
Good.
So, all right. Would be eliminated and then had to change their plans and to change their plan because they were imbalances. Yep. So they were up to something. Yes. So that's basically that we already reviewed that with the whole yellow carding.
Oh, I like this bit.
Are the meditations and prayers for the world having any other effects? Yes. Are they having the intended effects? Since you were careful with your intentions, yes. So that's important, isn't it,
Yes.
Paula?
Yeah. Intentions are important, definitely.
So you're not sitting there praying that Nancy Pelosi will see the light and you'll heal her. No, you're just
No.
saying, I'm going to give it up to the universe. I'm going to pray for whatever needs to happen is going to happen. You're allowing space. So that's why they said, since you are careful, and you know, this group has been talking to the Cassiopeians for 31 years. So you best believe they're probably know how to do this the best now because they have
Yes.
course corrected and changed. That's why I love the 1994 readings because there's still so much,
So yeah, so
but.
much to learn. Yeah. But I like to do a lot of connecting with Mother Earth. And I mean, I like to call her Mother Gaia. That's just what I like to call her. But I like to just, help her and just with spreading the love around the world. But it's still all about just letting people do what they've got to do.
You be you, boo. That's what it's all about with love and with grace, you be you. And so that's why you're being careful with your intentions.
Yeah. But it's so
So if
great to
yes,
hear that the intentions and the meditations are helping.
and people are doing it in the correct way to still allow for free will.
Yeah.
If yes, is there anything more different we can do? Repetition. Is there anything we are doing wrong that we can correct or do better? Practice makes perfect. You are
Mhm.
all growing more proficient at navigating in the etheric realms. So they don't actually sometimes give you answers because you have to have that wisdom. If they
Yeah.
just came and told you the answers, you would never know the wisdom. So keep
Yeah.
practicing. You'll notice you're getting better at this.
Hmm.
All right. This is where it gets really interesting. And this is where I was really couldn't wait to talk to you guys about this. Anybody want to add a question to that? Anything else? Yes, no. Okay, Thor. Boy, you get a bunch of questions in here, fella, trying to wear me out. And they it's so funny because Laura writes literally everything
I
down, which I
know. It's
respect
so
that.
funny.
Sometimes someone's got to go pee, and so they'll write down that someone's going to pee.
Someone's
Like
going to
it's
be.
like in the train, I gotta go to the bathroom. I gotta go take a shit. Like it's in the, but she's literally being very transparent about what's happening in the room when this is going on. Um, in countries with a higher percentage of psychopaths, as per the information in the in the transcripts, are there fewer OPs, organic portals? No. Now I'm going to remind people what an organic portal is. I've done a lot of shows. My nose always itches. It's itching. I think that's what that means. It's truth. Um, we've done a lot of shows on organic portals, guys. I will tag a show with Mr. Fox down below with organic portals. Organic portals, 50% of the people on this earth are organic portals. What this means is they do not have a soul. Organic portals aren't going with us to fourth density. Now, they are living sentient beings, so they will eventually develop a soul, but organic portals are used by the darkness. And because they're manipulated. They've had this thing going around, Paula, where people say people are starting to figure out that there are lots of people walking around that don't have an internal dialogue, and it's wild. Like, that's crazy to me that people don't have an internal dialogue.
Wow.
Have you seen those YouTube videos where people are now
Mm.
figuring out some of their friends like literally don't have they're not constantly thinking about something or constantly having conversations with themselves and reflecting on things?
Oh my
Those are
God. I
portals.
can't imagine what life would be like without that chatter in my head.
They just go to
Oh.
work and they go home and they just do, they don't have a constant reflection, those are organic portals. And the Cassiopeians had said before that psychopaths are failed organic portals. So
Failed.
organic portals get manipulated and used by the darkness to try to come into our lives and wreak havoc. So
Mhm.
a lot of organic portals are also narcissistic. They have narcissistic personality disorder, which is why I think we're seeing such an influx in NPD. But not the Cassiopeians are quick to say that every organic portal is going to have narcissism, but not every narcissist is an organic portal. Some narcissists are distressed, souled people with
Yeah.
souls. But
Emotionally
regardless, we can't
broken.
help.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't help anyway. They have to help themselves. So they're
Yeah.
saying in countries of a higher percentage of psychopaths, as for the information in transcripts, are there also fewer organic portals? No. Do you want to add anything to that, Paula? Does that make sense?
Mm, so what are they? Yeah, I'm a little bit confused with that. What are they? So they're saying that countries with higher percentages of psychopaths, as per the information
They
in
have
transcripts.
fewer. Does that mean they have fewer organic portals?
And
And
it's
they're
saying
saying
no.
no.
Okay.
And they're going to kind of get this is what's super interesting. And we can reflect on our own lives in a minute with this. And they say, Laura says, and I guess your reasoning is that if there are more psychopaths, that the psychopaths are taking up or occupying the organic portal status. Is that what you're getting at, Thor? Yes, that's what I had in mind. You figure that, so this is them having a conversation amongst themselves of
Yeah.
the Cassiopeians they encourage, guys, I'm sorry, my nose is itching so bad.
Well,
I
you
guess
poor
that's,
thing.
no, they always say when your nose itches, it's because truth is being told.
Right.
So hopefully, this is what's happening because hopefully this will help people. That's why I think this is going to be really important to help people in the coming future.
Yeah.
If you figured if there were more psychopaths, there would be fewer organic portals because there were more organic portals that were turned into psychopaths. Is that it? Well, I was thinking that it's a half-half, and there are some countries where there are many psychopaths, and I just wondering if the psychopaths is they explain a failed organic portal, if then that took up the space as to say to the 50%, okay, well, they said no. And let me say this, because I think Todd talked about this too. Just because 50% of the world's population are organic portals does not mean that 50% of the people you're around in your life are organic portals.
Yeah.
Now, organic portals do like to attach to souled people with souls. But typically, like if you have two parents who have souls, they're going to only have children with souls,
Yeah.
right? So they kind of stay together. Okay,
And
so
also, and like attracts like. So, you tend to find your people and
yeah,
kind of, yeah, the people that you resonate with. And I think if you're a souled person, you're going to really be resonating with other souled people.
right, and also too. Okay, so what they're going to talk about. So organic portal's purpose, they're just a walking empty vessel, and they get used by the 40 negatives
To just cause
to
issues.
cause chaos in souled people's
So,
lives to
so there
come in
might be
and
like
hide.
a work colleague that's just,
Sometimes
causing
relationships. They
dramas.
like
Yeah,
to
relationships.
organic.
Yeah.
So what's the narcissist and the empath, right? They
Yeah.
like to get into to hijack a souled person so they can take that. They're not feeding off the energy, but that energy is being fed to that service to self.
Mhm.
And that's why even though we have karmic paths, and even though everything that happens to us is in turn a lesson for us to learn, we also have these wild cards coming in called organic portals.
Yeah.
All right. And the more, so that's the thing about spirituality too. The deeper you go on the spiritual path, the more organic portals you're going to encounter, the more narcissists you're going to encounter. The law of one, I mean, the Emerald Tablets talk about this as well. Because the closer you get to the truth, the more people are going to come, the more darker entities are going to come and try to hijack.
Mm-hmm. The
So you
more
have to be
wild
very
cards you're
aware.
going to get to challenge
Yeah.
you.
Hence why I'm so shadow banned,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
In the countries with higher percentages of psychopaths are the ones you include all failed organic portal types? No. If no, what are other types included? Strong service to self candidates. So that's another thing too, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
We are in a dual harvest.
Yeah.
It's not just us going positive. There are people on this earth with souls that are trying to go service to self. This is why this bullshit about all of these politicians already being arrested and it's all a movie, they capitulated. No, 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 no. Service to self people don't capitulate, they don't surrender. To surrender is service to others. So interesting. The Cassiopeians have before in the past, this past year, called out a lot of YouTubers in the truther community being service to self infiltrators. These are the people who are trying to convince you that everything's taken care of and it's going to be all good. No, no. So we're seeing even stronger service to self candidates popping up. Now, if they came at you just ooga booga, like I'm gonna hurt you ooga booga, then it wouldn't work. So of course they're gonna come through like a narcissist and manipulate
Yeah. And
and
they're going
slowly
to
wear you,
come across very charming and like they're telling the truth, and they're going to be very good at manipulating and fooling us, basically.
harming you. Yeah, into that's because they're lying to you.
Mm-hmm.
Can they give an example of how much of these types contributed to elevated numbers? Are you asking for percentages? We don't need to go really into percentages, I don't think. What I want to get to, so they're saying you are thinking in 3D terms. They tell them a lot like you're thinking.
Yeah.
It would be very like you're still thinking on this level. Like you gotta step back and see the big picture. And
Mm-hmm.
because we're dual harvest guys, just because someone's service to self, that's the path they picked.
Mm-hmm.
They want to go 40 negative. Just like we want to go 40 positive. That's the path they picked. Don't try to save them.
Yeah. And
Because if you try, yeah,
they
go,
want to
sorry,
do
go ahead.
that. Oh, no, I was just going to say, if they want to do that, that's their choice. They're allowed
Their
to.
choice. It's a path. It's still a path.
Mm-hmm.
It
Might
would
not agree
probably
with
be,
it.
no, might not be the path you want to go on, but their soul wants to go on this direction.
Mm-hmm.
It would probably be very few of them that are strong service to self. So there's very few strong service to self candidates. There's more service to others, but there are some people we like Nancy. I mean, I don't know for sure, but if I had to guess, people like Nancy Pelosi,
Yeah.
people like Maxine Waters. Think about these people that's what I would assume. So the reason for there being more psychopaths, probably a failed organic portal variety, would be simply genetic. Yes, because organic portals are only going to give birth to other organic portals.
Yeah.
Once again, we're back to the good old genetic recombination. Somehow people cluster together and they reproduce and strengthen or enhance certain genetics, and then you end up with more psychopaths. Is that it? Yes. When you said
Interesting.
psychopaths will get the blame, does that mean that many people will misinterpret the deeper levels of manipulation, like walk-ins, undergrounders, and what have you? So the psychopaths of the organic portal type will be like shields for other malefic actors. Close enough. So the organic portals are going to take the fall for the real bad guys. Of course they would, because the real bad guys are going to throw people in front of the bus all the time.
Yeah. That's what they
Like the
do.
undergrounders. I know Todd spoke briefly about the undergrounders. I do
Yes.
actually want to go into that a little bit later in another video, but there are some YouTubers, big YouTubers in the truther community that the Cassiopeians have said are undergrounders.
Wow. And did they
They're not good.
mention specific names?
They gave hints.
Ooh,
One who I have dealt with hardcore.
wow.
And that when that reading was posted, I felt very vindicated.
Wow.
These are people that are working for the establishment in the truther community, and they are some of the most popular YouTubers that people just blindly follow, even though they've gotten nothing right in their predictions, nothing right. But they're able to charm and manipulate.
They are, yeah.
So they're leading people down a path. Now, if that's the path the soul wants to go down, they probably aren't coming with us to 4D positive, but that's their choice, right? So, but this is why it's important to talk about this. All right. I mean, let's face it, how many people on the planet are going to believe in walk-ins, 4D manipulation, undergrounders, etc.? The majority of the population just usually doesn't want to go there. It is so in that countries with more 4D candidates, there will also be many psychopaths. So this is what's important. This is the conversation that I think is really important about this. What do you mean 4D candidates? There are 4D candidates of the service to self variety, 4D candidates of the service to others variety. So what do you mean? This that is true, but I think I was thinking about service to others because they said that when a person is close to graduating, then there's a possibility that they insert more units around this person. All right, I see what you're asking. Okay, so he's asking about 4D service to others candidates. Does that mean that there are more agents inserted around them and that there are also many psychopaths? Yes.
So just confirming what you were saying, that, we get more people, more wild cards thrown in. Is that what you're saying?
We get more people trying to derail us.
Yeah.
For me, the amount of shit I've been through on YouTube, that's why. And
Right.
they can't make me stop. I haven't stopped filming, so they're shadow banning me.
Yeah.
That you can also have, and that's virtually, but you can also have them in your life.
Yeah.
So the more complications you might start to have with your job,
Mhm.
with organic portals coming in. Your neighbor could be an organic. They're going to start to put, now these organic portals don't know they're being used,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they don't know, but
but they're being used to try to derail you.
mhm.
And worst case scenario, they're trying to get you to yourself. Now, if they can turn you into if you're a candidate to service to others and they can turn you into service to self, that gives them more power. They just leveled up hardcore. So there's never a point where you can rest in your laurels.
So it's quite beneficial for them. So if they manage to turn a service to others person into service to self, they level up.
Yeah, because you
Wow.
have so much power. When you are about to graduate service to others, you're gaining more spiritual gifts. It's kind of like in the Yoga Sutras. The third and fourth pada talk about the siddhis, which are like the yoga powers. Like Todd spoke about it in your interview with him over on the Esoteric Academy. And they even talk about things like manifestation, like, you start to gain these powers. It's up to you how you use them
Yeah. And whether you use them for good
or for
or
bad.
yeah, yeah.
So let's say you develop this siddhi, the power of deep manifestation. Like my boyfriend can manifest anything. I swear to God. I,
I
I
know
was laughing with
it's
like anything
incredible.
he wants, he just manifests. Like it's crazy. And he's done it since he was a kid, but he realized at a very young age that he can't take more. If he takes, someone's got to lose.
Mm. Which
And
is
so
that's never covered in manifestation.
no, because most manifestation teachings are of the dark side,
Mhm.
but they make them look light. Oh, but you can have everything you want. Well, that's true, but what's your intention for wanting it? And I talked about this in our new course coming up. What I find in my experience in the yoga world, 19 years, same with me, same with a lot of other people I know, is that there naturally comes this not wanting much. Like you're happier being a minimalist.
Yeah.
Like you use your money differently. The money we use goes to travel or
Mhm.
goes to rescue dogs or goes, I don't need a ton of handbags. I don't need designer clothes. I don't want that.
But I do need a ton of books, so
Yeah, well, books, so your what's your intention of wanting things becomes very different. Now there's
yeah.
no money itself is not evil. Like look at Mr.
Yeah,
T.
just an energy.
How
Yeah.
you use it, right? You should always be paid for your work. But if you're trying to just manifest a mansion and a
Have more.
Jaguar, more stuff for no reason, there's nothing
And
you're doing.
to have, it's all about the ego and wanting to look good to other people. And yeah, then that's,
If you're not actually doing a job, working the labor to make the income to pay for that, but you're manifesting it, that's black magic. Because you
mm,
haven't put the energy out to actually receive the same energy in return. So somebody is losing.
mhm.
You're taking while somebody is losing. Someone else is going to have to lose out on that. You've taken from somebody. So if you get to that point where you're able to do all these spiritual things, levitate, manifest, whatever, bilocate, if you haven't worked on yourself enough, you're going to go negative because you're going to abuse those powers
Yeah.
for your own selfish desires. So now there could be people that are learning these things, and then you get a nice, charming person that comes into your life, and they're like, no, you deserve a Jaguar, but you deserve a mansion with 10 rooms, even though it's only you and your dog.
Yeah. Just get
You're,
10 cats like
yes.
what was it, Freddie Mercury?
Yeah,
And each cat had its own room. Oh,
right.
those cats,
But
they lived a life.
now, if you're working a job that pays you that much money and you buy that house out of your own hard work, that's
Yeah,
an
then
equal
that,
energy
yeah,
exchange. But if you just sit there and manifest this huge mansion without doing anything for that, you've
yeah,
taken from somebody else.
yeah.
And that's never taught because they want to harvest people negative. And
Mm.
I said, I think the deeper you work on yourself, the more of a minimalist you become. You're not like
Yeah, I mean, at this rate, I'm just trying to get rid of stuff.
exactly,
When you've got
exactly.
kids, you just accumulate so much stuff. You're like, where did all this come from? I just want to, get rid of it. But yeah,
Right.
so this is the part I didn't end up
So
reading.
I'm not going to go into this more. I'll leave this because because I think other people can. I'm going to put the link down below. Other people can read that for themselves because they do go to tell people to resort back to other readings.
Mhm.
Well, glory hallelujah for all of us. She's laughing because now we've got more people, more spies around us. Now referring back to the 25th of January 2025 session about the individuals who have been genetically modified to host 4D beings. Now, this is crazy. And again, this is why I'm going to let people read this for themselves because a lot of the autistic kids were genetically modified for this purpose. Not all of them, but some. And so we have these people out there saying, well, these autistic kids, they're just they're like, no, they're not. No, they're not. I have a step cousin who's autistic. He will never live by himself. He will never live a full life by himself. You think that's a more advanced person? No, it's not every autistic child that's created to host 40 negative beings. Not every one of them. That's why I'm going to let you read this for yourself and come up with your own conclusions. A lot of kids that have autism, you can course correct that if you work with the appropriate person to
Yeah.
get whatever needs to come out. Okay? But do not go glorifying something you don't understand, keeping a person entrapped in a situation that isn't good for them. You don't think these highly autistic kids want to be normal or want to have a family one day and kids one day. They don't want to be trapped in this, but you're glorifying it. Oh, they're just star seeds. No, they're not. They're earthlings. That's one thing that drives me crazy too. Do we have DNA from other galactic? Are we a hodgepodge of other DNA from other galactics? Of course we are, but we are on planet Earth. We are earthlings. Don't disassociate from that. If your child is autistic, read this forum, make up your own mind, and then go from there. And if your child wants help, as the parent, get them that help. Like it makes me upset, like, because I see these beautiful children and their parents aren't doing anything because they think they're special. Every child is special. If you think certain people are better than others, are more elite than others for whatever reason, that's the negative side.
Mhm.
On the positive side, every human being, life has value. If your child had diabetes, you wouldn't sit there and say, "Oh, we're not gonna, it's just because they're special. We're not gonna do anything to help them manage it or teach them how to manage it." No, you absolutely would teach them how to manage it, especially if it's type 1 diabetes and they're born with it. You would teach them how to manage it, how to take their blood, how to read their blood sugar. That's part of their karma. It's part of what they want in this life. Their soul wanted to work through. You could have a child born with autism. And what if that child wanted you as the parent to help them shed that?
Yeah, that's
But you
interesting.
have,
And it's possible because there's things out there and there's
absolutely.
technology and stuff. I mean, like I've only just recently discovered Solex, which is a frequency healing technique, I mean app, sorry, that you can download on your phone. You can send healing frequencies to people. And the guy that actually started it, found it, he found it because his son, he adopted a son, and the son had cerebral palsy, and he was trying to find a cure. He just was just like, nah, my kid is going to live a normal life. And he went out there and he found it. He did not
Yeah.
give up. It took years of research, but he found these guys, these Russian inventors who had invented this thing. It was called like, it's called the hub. And it's this machine that kind of spins you around so that it I don't completely understand how it all works, but it does something to the neurons in your brain so that it's um, firing the right way. And the son, I mean, I think the son's in his 40s or something, 50s now, and he's living a normal life because his mum and dad did not give up until they found the answer. And now they have made this technology affordable so that anyone in the world can use this. And there's a little mini hub that you can buy. I don't have one of those, but my friend does have one, and she's working on somebody at the moment who comes in every day for about an hour and does this work, and it can literally cure things like ADHD. I haven't looked into it, but I bet it could cure autism. If it cured his cerebral palsy, I mean, what the sky is the limit. And I
Yeah.
just think that if you are determined to say, no, I'm not going to just accept things, I'm going to find an answer, you can do it. I mean, this guy
And
did
then
it.
I just, all these people out there that are, everybody loves their children. They think that your program, that not program, your biological reaction is to protect your own. That's part of God's plan,
Yeah.
right? But to believe your child somehow is better than other children because of something, that is a service to self behavior. So all these truthers out there are a ton of truthers out there that believe these kids with autism are star seeds and they're giving us the answers. You are being manipulated.
Mhm.
And you bless your child's heart because they're stuck in there somewhere. And you, as a parent, part of your karmic duty is to try to help them learn how to help themselves.
And it's possible. People do it.
So don't sit there and blow smoke up everyone's ass. And we know that's a projection of themselves, right? Like, I think sometimes we see parents project their own. It's about the parent, not about the child. My child's special, therefore I have my boyfriend calls it the golden vagina syndrome. My mother did not have that syndrome with us, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So, where your
Yeah, I don't
child can
have
do
that.
no wrong because it came from so, and that's what we're seeing. And so, and I think what happens in another aspect is I mean, I've never had a child, but I can imagine that if you have a child and there's something wrong with your child, how heartbreaking that could be for a parent, because I don't think a parent wants a child. You want your child to be able to grow up and live independent and have their own lives. That's what you
Yeah.
want for your children. And so to be told that your child's never going to amount to much because they can't live independent of you because of something wrong with their brain, maybe people are doing that to try to like manipulate their own minds into accepting this pain. But the thing about pain and suffering is that, going back to what we said in the beginning, that's a part of this planet. And so you have to lean into
Yeah.
that.
Yep. And it's
And
a
it's
driving force to motivate you. I mean, like this guy, Lauren, his name is, and he traveled all over America, and he went to all these science fairs and everything.
yeah,
Like he read so many books. Him and his wife, like they worked their butts off to try and find a
yeah,
solution, and they found one. And now their son gets to live a normal life. I mean, and it wasn't even their biological child. This was a child that they adopted because they tried to have children and they were not able to. I mean,
yeah,
I just think it's beautiful. What a beautiful story. I will share
yeah.
the link for that story below for anybody who's
Please do.
interested because
Will
it's
you send me the link
beautiful.
too, Paula, so
I
I can put it on
will.
mine?
I will
Okay.
because it's a beautiful story. I just have so much respect for that guy for what he's done and how he's helping people all over the world now with this technology because he's made it available because this machine was like a $30,000 machine that you had to go into the office and go to his office, and he's managed to make it available on any iPhone, iPad, laptop, whatever. So but yeah, anyways, I'm very passionate about it because and just about the fact that whether it's your child or somebody that you care about in your life, there's so
They want
many
help.
there's so many things we can do to help people heal, and we just accept things and just I mean, yeah, there's certain things in life we do need to accept that we can't control or change, but our health is something that we can totally change.
Well, that's the assignment. We're here. That's the assignment for life is to confront this friction, to get stronger, not to just like dilute ourselves. Regardless of whether your DNA has a lot of galactic influence or not, the truth of the matter is you're an earthling.
Yeah.
You are a human being. That's the truth.
Mhm.
You're not off at night fighting some galactic war. You're not special because you think you're a star seed and others aren't. You are a human being earthling. We're all, if your soul was supposed to be in another galactic community during this time, it would be. But
Well, I
you
mean,
chose to be the
even
earth.
if you buy into the theory that our being splits into different things, and yeah, okay, so parts of us might be in different, different universes or doing different things in different parallel lives or whatever. That's all well and good, but your
You're
sole
here.
focus is right here, right
That's where your
now.
consciousness is here.
And that's what
And
you
I
need to
think,
focus on. It's like, don't worry about all these other tests you've got to do. Focus on the test that's right in front of you. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's what the darkness does is they get people where they're the weakest and they pull it away. They pull them away, they disassociate them from the problem and fill up their ego.
Yeah.
Like you feel different and weird because you're actually a star seed that's saving the earth. No, you're a human being. And
It's
any of
all
these
just
weaknesses that you
distraction.
have, it's all and it's getting you not to work on your karma. And if you don't work on your karma, it's not going to go away. You're going to have to come back and do it again.
Yeah.
So you have a choice. You can either do it now or do it later.
Hmm.
And I just so anything you have, like I don't want to sound harsh, but it breaks my heart when people have an autistic child. They're like, it's because my child is special and better than everyone else, and they're speaking a light language and they're able. That's you. That's a you problem. That's you and your imagination. That's not what your child is saying. How do you not know your child is in there somewhere going, please help me. Please, I've been genetically modified. I need your help to get this shit out of me. But you're off in your delulu world, delusional world, going on all over YouTube saying my child's better than your child. When literally your child sitting there being like, this is your narcissism. This is your ego. It's not even about your child anymore. It's about you being the mother with your golden vagina saying, look, my baby's better than your baby.
It's
When
heartbreaking when you
literally,
put it that way. I've never looked at it that way before. And yeah, it's really heartbreaking.
if your child had leukemia, you wouldn't get up there on the YouTube channel and be like, my child's better than your child because they have leukemia or diabetes. No, you would be there trying to figure out what you can do
Hmm.
to give your child a healthy life.
Yeah.
So why is it different with autism? Why is it different with this stuff? Why do
And I
you
mean, I
think
think like if autism was as rare as it used to be, it's a kind of a different scenario, but it's just so common. Same with ADD and
it's so common?
ADHD. It's just
It's
every
because of all
second
of these.
child. Yeah. Every
The
second
amount of
child's
heat,
getting. Diagnosed. I mean, I saw my kinesiologist today and she said one of her clients is a kindergarten teacher, and she said kids as young as 3 to 6 are being diagnosed with ADHD. And I'm 3 to 6, you haven't even finished developing yet.
No, and this is all because of the genetic from the darkness.
Hmm.
These. I
Yeah,
had in 1983, I had five. And
yeah,
then what's it like by 1989? It was like what, 70 something? It's all so this is what's happening. This is the reality. What's done is done. We can't change what's done,
hmm,
but we can always course correct.
yes.
We
And
can
there are
always
things
course
out
correct.
there that can help us to detox our bodies from all the metals and all of the things
Yes.
that have been in there, you know? And
So
so
if you
it's
had a
our
baby,
responsibility as a parent to do that research and to find out.
so if you had a baby and you gave the baby all of these and
Hmm.
it caused a reaction, okay, you didn't know, you thought you were doing the right thing.
Yeah,
No big deal. Now let's course correct. Or perhaps you didn't give your babies these, but your baby came out with some autism. Maybe it's because you had these.
yeah,
What's done is done. We
yeah.
can't change the past, but what we can
No,
do is detox and change and course correct. We just saw in the
yeah.
beginning that because of consciousness, we can change just as they manipulate DNA through these, we can manipulate our own DNA through consciousness.
Hmm.
So why are you going to keep your child enslaved to a satanic agenda because your ego and your feelings are hurt because you now have to actually do something to protect your child? Like it pisses me off, Paula, because I look at these children, I'm like, there is a human being in there trying to escape. And if it were diabetes, if it were leukemia, there would be no hesitation.
Yeah,
These parents who do this, this is your ego problem. This is your narcissism. This is not about your child. You're trying to push yourself out there as you have this beautiful child. Look at me, golden vagina and all. Help your child.
yeah.
That's your job as a mama and a daddy is to help your child. Actually, in one of the older readings I was reading through, some of Laura in the 90s, some of Laura's little children were in the room, and the Cassiopeians kept saying, this is there's a lot of interference because there's children there. She was like, why? It's because they're easy to manipulate.
Oh, wow.
And Laura kept saying, do I need to ask them to leave? And the Cassiopeians would say, it's up to you, but we're just letting you know because they're so young. This is going to be a hard reading. We don't want them on the board, you know. So if you think about it that way, you've got these small babies who are so young, they're so easy to. I mean, you people lie to their kids all the time.
Yeah,
How many parents, how many of your kids have wanted to go to Chuck E. Cheese and you're like, I'm sorry, it's closed on Tuesday. Like, how many of
yeah,
you guys have left? You know, like, and they're like, okay, you know, like,
yeah,
so, so if you got a child that's had this happen, they've come with this karma. That's all it is karma, and you're ignoring it because you don't want to face the reality. Then that poor baby is just sitting there vulnerable. So anyway, I didn't mean to go off on that, but it just really makes me mad when people try to, it's 3D thinking, right? To boost my ego. I'm the best when no one's the best. We're all on the equal
yeah.
playing field. We
That's
all
true.
have karma. So they got, I know I gotta hop off soon, but they go into say like with possessions, like 4B, 4D service to self beings can download themselves into the body of soul into the body and into the bodies of OPs and failed OPs like psychopaths. Now this is interesting. So such downloading into soul beings is generally referred to as possession. It implies a conflict and thus is not optimal for downloading. So there's really not that many possessions. Most what people think is possession is just a mental disorder
Right.
because they don't really want to try to get into the body of a soul person because it's not optimal because their soul is going to be fighting it.
Hmm.
But in a organic portal where there is no soul, they can easily hop into that body. It
Right.
makes sense, right? I wouldn't want to try to hop into a house where somebody else is living there. I would want to go into a house where there was nobody living there.
Yeah. Because otherwise that would be awkward.
Right, right. They will sometimes they so okay, as a general rule, they do not download into the bodies of soul people. Yes, they don't really. So that's why there's so few possessions that people call possessions.
Right.
They're usually mental disorders because that's not really they use they only use the bodies of OPs and failed OPs like psychopaths. Yes. Can a fourth density service to self being downloaded self into more than one 3D body at the same time? No. So they can only do one body at a time. But they can control more than one individual at the same time if they're doing it from a hyper, yes. So they can they can be puppeting multiple organic portals, but they can only control if they possess a body, it can only be one body at a time. And just so you guys know, the fact, if you're digging this Cassiopeian stuff, and I have so many people wondering if they're organic portals, if you dig this Cassiopeian stuff, you're probably not an
Yeah.
organic portal.
I don't think you'd be interested.
They say people who are only really interested in this stuff get interested are souled people. People who have souls.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is there more than one type of 4D service to self beings besides the Lizzies that can be found among walk-ins? Walk-ins are generally not Lizzies, but rather humanoid types for frequency readings. Okay. And Todd had talked a lot about walk-ins with you a little bit. Like that's kind of not what people think it is, what a walk-in is. I
Yeah.
think usually what people think a walk-in is they're referring to when they get their soul. Because some people, as Todd was saying, don't have to have, like, they can go through childhood without the soul enters. That doesn't mean they can get possessed, though, because the body is already conditioned for a soul. Does that make sense? And so
Yeah.
that's when they get their soul, is when they think it's a walk-in, but it's not. It's just the generation of your soul.
Yeah.
Okay, they talk about
Yeah.
Candace. Is Macron Brigitte's son? No, but he sure looks like it. So he's not Brigitte's son. I'm wondering if the nephew. Um, they do go, okay, let's go a little bit into this to give a shout out to Candace Owens. So they're gonna get
And all the
not
research is done.
Emmanuel is not Brigitte's son. Sure looks like it. Well, that's just dangling. That's just left dangling there. Is that just a coincidence, a matching of frequencies? People tend to attract types. So it's not, sometimes we make things more complicated than they are.
Yeah.
We attract types. Well, I can give one example. My father was very similar in type and had similar facial features to my grandfather, and that's why my mother married him. Other questions? I have one of those. So here, what happened to Brigitte Trogneau, the sister of Jean-Michel Trogneau? What does Candace Owens think it happened to her? No one knows. No one said it. She asked the journalist.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and he just went, well, we haven't actually established. We asked if Jean-Michel was in fact Brigitte, and they said yes. That's pretty obvious. So Candace Owens was spot on with that. Okay, well, then the question is what happened to the original Brigitte that the current Brigitte is impersonating? They know she married, but then she disappeared. There's nothing else about her. What happened to her? The current Brigitte is Jean-Michel, her brother. Right. He had a younger sister that existed, but then disappeared. And then Jean-Michel took her persona. That's the theory. It's open. It's out there. She is Platchett, moves slowly, Mort. So when they say that, Mort means they're not going to go any further.
Because I was thinking that last night and I was like, what does that mean? I was like, I'll have to ask Brice.
Yeah, I asked Todd about that. He said that when they say Mort, for some reason, that's their word in Cassiopeia for we're not going any further with this. That makes sense. They really didn't want to answer that question. I know. Yeah, let's just leave it. So there's lots of reasons why they won't answer questions sometimes. Sometimes it's just they don't want to.
Not the right time.
Not the right time, and maybe it's too dangerous to answer the question. Maybe the real Brigitte is in trouble, and they don't want to rock the boat too much. Maybe it's not important for us to know. Maybe what's important to us to know is that Brigitte Macron herself is lying to people.
Yeah.
But as far as everything else, it's none of our business, right? So you never know why they won't answer questions. There's many different reasons. They're only answering now, I suppose, because there's at least some information because of Candace Owens, so it's out there. But to get any more answers, you probably have to stick within what's already been made available publicly and make it a little bit extra. But you're probably not going to get any definitive answer because it's touchy. All right. I don't know exactly how to ask it. Okay, so I think we can kind of leave it. I want to go to the bottom. Is there anything else you want to hit on before?
I don't think so. Oh, maybe just a tiny bit up. It said A off D. I was wondering what that stood for.
I'm not sure what that
Oh, and it was interesting what they said about there are serious questions about the election of John Kennedy, that there were a lot of
All
votes
right.
that were bought.
All right, God, they've been doing this since forever. I mean, there's even serious questions about the election of John Kennedy. There were a lot of votes that were bought by his dad. Yes, the mob. Okay.
Yeah, so they were
So
talking
even that,
about the rigging of the election.
yeah, for John Kennedy, way back when.
Mm-hmm.
By his
Oh,
dad,
that was
yes, and the mob.
interesting.
Okay. Now, the thing is, the Cassiopeians has said that Junior is dead.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's a big one in the truther community that he's alive and he's in a mask, but they have said
Yeah,
no, he's gone,
yeah.
as is Princess Diana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that doesn't
So
really surprise me.
no, and that they both wanted to leave, that their souls were ready to leave when they left.
Yeah.
So in the 17th letter of the alphabet, remember, also said that Junior is no longer alive.
Ah,
And that
okay.
one girl was like, well, if Senior is no longer alive, then he's not Junior anymore, he's Senior. That's not true.
Mm.
My father is a junior. My father is Edgar Lee Watson Jr. My grandfather was Edgar Lee Watson Sr. My grandfather is no longer alive, but my dad is still Edgar Lee Watson Jr. Just because my grandfather is no longer alive doesn't mean that his existence gets erased
Mm.
and somebody else takes his place.
And otherwise, how else would we know who people are talking about? It's like with the whole thing when you were talking about with JD Vance and stuff. And it's like, well,
Right.
that's who we vote, that's who you guys
We
voted
voted for.
for.
Yeah,
That's
that's
who
our
it is.
consent.
That's who they're referring to.
So I think when the whole Kennedy thing was brought up, I think they were talking about Bobby Kennedy. I think we got the wrong Kennedy.
Right.
And I'm willing to course correct that given the logics, but some people aren't. Um, and again, if Junior's gone, that was his soul's decision.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't try to supersede that for your own selfish desires.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that to people all the time. If Junior's alive, what difference is that to you?
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, I mean, even if they were alive, I mean, yeah, that would be great. But I mean, what impact is that going to have on the world? I mean, wouldn't it cause a lot of people to be angry as well? They'd be like, okay, so you
Yes.
faked your
To
death.
fake your death is a felony in the United States.
So I just don't really see what the benefit of it would be if they were. I guess a
Yeah,
lot
there's
of
no.
people are kind of hoping that they're working behind the scenes as part of the white hats and all of
But
that
that
kind of
goes back
stuff.
into the negative polarity then.
Yeah,
If
well,
you're entitled enough to think that somebody should do all this hard work for you and save you, that's negative thinking.
yeah, yeah.
We all have a part to play. Now, our parts are different. Like Mr. T has a different part to play than like me and Paula, but we
Mhm.
all have our parts to play and we cannot together we have to make this work. We cannot sit around eating bonbons, getting fat, not doing anything because we think somebody else is going to do it for us. That is enslavement.
Mhm.
That is you acting like a slave master. I can appreciate Mr. T for doing what he's doing, but I'm also getting up every day trying to do my part as well.
Yeah.
So is Paula. So are many of you watching. We're preaching to the choir. I know that we're preaching to the choir. But it just once you understand the rules of the game, you see the manipulation for what it's worth.
Yeah.
You see the manipulation for what it's worth. It's all manipulation. Why? Because if they can manipulate you and get you spinning in a circle, they pull that energy from you and they can use it to continue to try to hijack. And you're the only one that can stop that with yourself. You're the only one that can say, I'm not going to be hijacked anymore.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't, the only people that affects, if Junior's alive, the only people that affects is the Kennedy family.
Yeah, it's the immediate family, yeah. And I mean, that would be wonderful for them, but then it would also be complicated because,
Yeah.
yeah, there would be a lot going on there. Yeah.
Yeah. So they do end this reading saying reread past warnings, things are going to get chaotic. Goodbye. Well, we have thrilling and we have chaotic because they talk about it sometimes. So I think she went and put up some of the past readings, all recent final message warnings from the sessions that's here. I got to jump on another call soon. But I'm going to link this down in the description box below so you can read this for yourself. Now, I'm going to reiterate in a past reading recently, they talked about how we're not in a golden age yet.
Mhm.
And that makes sense to me. And
Yeah,
it made a couple
makes
people
sense to me too.
we can't leapfrog
No.
to the end. We have to go through it. And just because it's chaotic doesn't mean it's not thrilling at the same time.
And you know, I believe it's coming. It's definitely coming, but it's just we have to get through. It's like having a baby, you know. You've
Yeah.
got to go through the labor pains, you've got to go through the delivery, and then you get to enjoy the wonderful gift at the end. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And then a few months after the baby's born, the mother's dealing with her own biological body trying to heal itself, and so we have that too after there's that flip where we have to let ourselves heal. And
Yes,
so,
that's so true. Yeah.
that's the thing that makes me so, I mean, and maybe, Paula, because I come from the world of traditional yoga. In traditional yoga, there's no teacher voice, there's no poetry read, it's very tough love.
Mhm.
And so I teach tough love. That's how I teach, is because that's how I was taught, which I appreciate because I don't want anybody patronizing me.
Yeah.
When I'm working with a teacher, I want to hear it straight. I don't want to be patronized. I'm a grown up.
You
Tell
can
it to me
do that.
straight.
Yeah.
This is what the Cassiopeians do. And I think people get upset when I do these readings sometimes, Paula, because they're used to being coddled and they're used to being lied to. And the truth is the truth. Feelings aren't facts. Facts are facts. And sometimes the truth is hard to hear, but it doesn't mean it's not the truth. Yeah. And I actually love the Cassiopeians. I love once you get your head around everything, it's actually exciting
Yeah,
because
because
it can,
we have so much to look forward to. But yeah, I feel like it's really important to, you know, to learn all of this information and to see things from the different perspective, because this is a different perspective to a lot of the other channelings out there. And I think it's important to listen to them and to learn more about it.
yeah,
And
I
it
I do too.
helps. It really helps us to get through the difficult times when we have this extra knowledge, because, you know, we're very limited with our knowledge from programming, from culture and society and schooling and parents and whatever. So then to have this to refer to is extremely helpful.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it empowers you. A lot of these other
Yeah.
people that are like, "Oh, helps don't have to do anything, just sit back," and that's disempowering.
Mhm.
You would not, if you were a souled human being, you would not be here right now. I want you to get this to your head. You would not be here right now if you could not handle this.
Yeah.
Don't let the darkness trick you to think you're too weak to handle this. Even though
No.
we're all equal, we're all equally strong and valuable. And so it's up to you to make those decisions to walk the path that your soul wanted to walk in this moment. And if you're one of those people like Paula and me that are probably going to be here till the better end,
Yep.
then we'll just have way more fantastic stories to tell once this is over.
We will.
You
Absolutely.
know, and you just realize you have the power. The power is within you.
Mhm.
In one of the readings, the Cassiopeians compared to the Wizard of Oz, that they were like Glinda telling you, you've always had this power all along.
Yeah. You
You
just
just
got
have
to
to
find
figure
it.
it out.
Yeah. You have to find it
So
within yourself.
anyway, well,
But
you guys,
yes,
that was
wow,
a
what an
long
awesome
one.
chat.
I know. I'm going to be going through. I know people loving it, guys. I'm going to be going through way more of the Cassiopeians reading. I'm going all the way back to 1994, so it's fun. It's fun. I'll tag the other videos down in the description box below, along with Paula's channel. Make sure that you are subscribed. And again, guys, we would love to have you over on the Esoteric Academy as well.
Yeah.
Again, you get 7 days of a free trial. So if you're interested in just trying it,
Mhm.
you get 7 days before you get locked in. So that's
No
a whole.
obligation. And even if you did sign up for 1 month and you decided that it's not for you, you can cancel anytime. There's no,
Yeah.
you know, locked in periods or anything like that. So
Right, right.
yeah.
And so we have two different categories. You can just do 25 a month, and that just gives you the exercise classes with the live exercise calls. And then you could do for $15 more a month, you get all the exercise classes, the live classes, and all the courses and
Mhm.
all the interviews. And so you can, even if you wanted to try just the 20, and then you decide you went to the courses, you can always upgrade or downgrade, whatever you want.
Yeah.
The whole series on Law of One that we're going to be doing is going to be under the $40 course, because that is a course. So that's the higher tier one, but we would absolutely love to have you guys. And it's really, I mean, Todd keeps saying how unbelievably cheap because he knows this is like thousands of dollars worth of courses that we're giving you guys for $40 a month, and part of that money goes to pay for the the all the maintenance, the admin stuff of. So we really are trying to put this as cheap as possible, so we can share this information, and we're not censored. It's our
Yep.
platform, so we can talk about whatever we want. And we would absolutely love to have you. If you guys have any questions about the platform, you can ask in the comment section below,
Mhm.
or you can email us if it's a
Yep.
private question. What's the email again,
So it's
Paula?
admin@theesotericacademy.com.
Okay, cool. I'll put that down in the description box too. So if you have a private question that you don't want to ask publicly, that's fine as well. We have a community board.
Yep.
We
Where
have so
everybody
many.
can ask questions of each other and us.
We've even got dudes in there. I always get
I
excited
know.
when I see men sign up. I'm used to being predominantly with men because most traditional yoga is mostly men. But
Yeah.
but it's so cool to have the dudes. We got great women in there, all ages. It's a really cool group of people, and so we'd love to have you guys. And otherwise, the links to the Cassiopeian Forum will be in the description box too. I don't
Yep.
gatekeep. It's all there for you to read. All 31 years is there for you to read. And so yeah. Anything before we sign off, Paula?
I think that's it. Yeah, and I'll include the link as well about the guy Lauren and his journey with his son, and yeah, basically any other information. I guess we're putting it all on the Esoteric Academy as well. So yeah, awesome. Well, this has been so much fun chatting to you about
Listen,
all of this.
buckle up, buttercups. Things
Yeah.
are about to get thrilling.
Yes,
So
very thrilling. Got a wild ride ahead.
we hope you guys are having a good day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.